Howdy, guys, and welcome to the overnight feed recaps for night 24 of Big Brother season 24. And welcome to Cliff Notes. Great Saturday to y'all. I hope y'all are enjoying your morning. Let's talk about everything that's happened in the aftermath from that amazing live eviction episode Thursday. So much fun to watch. We've since then found out that Monty won the HOH. And we had nominations yesterday. So we're going to pick up the live feeds right after the nomination took place. But first of all, just a little refresh on that nomination. Monty's HOH, he's made his nomination, and it is the duo of Alyssa and Indy. Yeah, Alyssa and Indy, two people who are not members of the Leftover Alliance. They were certainly one of the potential duo targets that could come up. It was that group. It was I don't know. We'll talk about the other possibilities here in a second, but Alyssa and Indy are on the block. Certainly of those two, Alyssa is the primary target that the Leftovers would choose to send home, but there's no guarantee they're going to stay on the block. It certainly seems like there is a backdoor plan potentially in place, and it all really comes down to the veto competition being held today. Depending on who wins the veto, Nicole or Daniel could easily become the backdoor targets. In fact, I think it's intended probably to make Nicole the backdoor target at this point in time. But we're going to talk about that a little bit as we get into it. So picking up right after the nomination ceremony, the feeds that are taking place. Let's start off with Monty, the HOH, up in the HOH room talking to Joseph. Monty is talking to that's telling Joseph that he talked to Taylor and that she's okay with the plan to use the veto on Alyssa and Indy in order to then put Nicole and Taylor on the block and then send Nicole out the door. Now, remember, night before last, Taylor was saying, look, I'm tired of being a pawn. It's someone else's turn to do that. I don't want to do it anymore. And she really was not wanting to go up on the block again. But I think through conversations, through her own analysis, I think it sounds like she's now made the decision that she may be willing to go on the block one more time just to get Nicole out the door. She talked earlier about the fact that she just doesn't even feel comfortable being in this house anymore with Nicole and Daniel. And I think she's decided she just wants them gone. So she's told Monty that she's okay if that's the direction he wants to go. Sounds like that's probably is the direction that they're looking at heading. But again, it all depends on who's the wins a veto. Now, Monty's also telling Joseph that he talked to Terrence. Terrence suggested the same idea. Hey, let's get Nicole out the door, put them up on the block. And apparently Terrence has said that he's getting a little bit tired of Nicole, that because Nicole and Daniel now are kind of feeling a little isolated in his house, that Nicole's really been trying to be as friendly as possible to Terrence, trying to buddy up to him. They're seeking out other allies and support, and Terrence doesn't want to have any part of it. He's ready to come loose. He's already said he's throwing in with the guys. So he's suggesting, hey, get Nicole out. I'm fine with it. So I think Monty and Joseph are feeling good that even some people outside their alliance are also looking at Nicole's direction. All right, we've also got Monty talking about the fact that if the veto isn't used, say Daniel and Kyle win it, or Nicole and Taylor win veto or something. If it's not used, Alyssa and Indy stay on the block. Well, then if Alyssa goes home, which would be the target, at that point, Monty's saying that Michael then wants to try to get Indy to join with him and Brittany as a way to have an associate person in their particular group. Remember last week, Terrence, after he survived the block and Amira went home, had to pick another duo to join. Well, Michael's saying, I'd love to get Indy to do the same thing. Assuming Alyssa goes home, let's get Indy to join with Brittany and myself. So that way, if someone puts us on the block the next week, the Leftovers can send out Indy and protect Brittany and myself. Otherwise, you maybe would be forced to send one or the other of us home. So they're thinking about what happens going forward. Now, talking about that twist and how things are working, Joseph's wondering if instead of the survivor this week picking another duo to join like we saw last week, he's wondering if the block survivor would maybe steal someone from the trio of Monty and Joseph and Terrence in order to balance it back out to just duos at that point in time. It's interesting. I could potentially see that happening. And he's saying if that's the case, and assuming Alyssa goes home, Indy's left, that they've decided they really would like Indy to pick either Joseph or Monty to be her new duo as opposed to Terrence. And it's a smart reason. It's because that way, say she picks Joseph. That way, Joseph, if he does go on the block, has Indy next to him. Leftovers vote out Indy. If they protect themselves, and then that way you also then have Terrence and Joseph on the other side. They'd vote out Terrence ahead of Joseph, so both of those guys now have protection depending on what happens with the next HOH. So they're thinking about that. Now I got to say, when this twist first started, I wasn't sure how it was going to affect the game, if it was good or if it wasn't good. It's certainly shaking things up quite a bit, and it's certainly causing a lot more strategic talk and a lot more consideration taking place. It's also opening up a lot more backdoor opportunities, because now with two people on the block, and if either one of them wins veto, they can pull themselves off as a duo. It makes it so much more likely that the original nominees aren't going to stay on the block, and as a result, backdoors become a much more viable option. So I got to say, right now, thinking about this twist, I'm kind of thumbs up on it. We'll see. We'll see in a couple of weeks if I still feel the same way. But it certainly is coming into play with some of the strategies that these people are looking at. All right, now Joseph is talking a little bit about the vibe of the house. He's one thing he's mentioning is about Nicole. A lot of talk about Nicole. It's just been a tough couple of days for Nicole and Daniel. Joseph is saying that Nicole used to cook for the entire house. She's a chef. You got to be excited when the chef's in the house, right? That Nicole used to cook for everyone, but today she only cooked for herself and Daniel and someone else. I'm guessing Terrence. I'm not sure, but Nicole really cooking for everyone else at this point in time. I get it. Nicole had a little conversation at one point. She said, I'm tired of being this house's mom. I'm tired of cooking for everyone. I'm tired of wiping people's butts. Well, we know what she's talking about on that. But she's saying, I'm tired of doing all. I get it. She feels like she's a target. She feels like there's a good chance she's going home. So why should she be cooking and take care of the other people? I get it. But when your game is on the line, when you're depending upon these people for a potential vote, you got to kiss a little rear end every once in a while. And you got to take care of people that you don't have any desire to actually do, but you got to do it. Because for all she knows, cooking meals and showing how well people eat while she's in the house could make the difference between whether it's her or Daniel that goes home, for example. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and do things that you don't want to do. But apparently she's not doing. Nicole is starting to isolate a little bit more so than further integrate with everyone else. And I don't think gameplay, I get it from a personal standpoint, from gameplay, it could cost her. All right, we've got Michael telling Brittany that that she has his vote if the noms don't change. Not Brittany. Sorry. Michael's telling Indy, says, look, if the vote doesn't change for some reason, you got my vote. I'm not sending you out the door. The leftovers I talked earlier, they said they want to try to keep Indy as calm as possible. They're worried. Indy plays a little bit of an emotional game at times. And so they want to try and make sure Indy knows that she's okay no matter what, and just keep her nice and even keeled. So Michael's telling her right there, she'll be okay. And I think she will be. I truly do. Now, with all that being said, we did have a little bit of awkwardness yesterday. There's been more and more pranks being done inside the house, which I'm all in for the pranks. Now, most of the pranks they've done so far are just hiding places, trying to scare people. Well, we had a prank that didn't quite go the way it was supposed to yesterday. Kyle ended up hiding in one of the cabinets in the storage room. Kyle's pretty big. I'm amazed that he could fit in one of those cabinets. Impressive. But Kyle hid in one of the other cabinets, apparently got Michael to lead Nicole in. He's jump out of the cabinet and scare. Plans in action. Michael leads her in there. But as soon as Nicole gets inside that storage room, she starts crying to Michael and says, look, I just think I'm going home. She's talking about the game. Pose Alliance. She said, I don't know why I'm suddenly the big target. I wasn't the one that formed Pose Alliance and all of that. And really kind of spilling her heart out a little bit to Michael. And Michael doesn't do anything. He just, kind of says, I get it. Hopefully you're okay. And all this time, Kyle's sitting in this cabinet. Well, now what do you do? Kind of a delicate situation. Well, after about 5 minutes, she eventually hears movement rustling around everything, and she goes over, knocks on the door, exposes Kyle. They start laughing. Kyle saying his legs fell asleep and everything. At that point, Nicole is saying, I knew it the whole time. I knew as soon as Michael didn't try to give me any advice and was just being super quiet, I knew something was going on. Why do you leave me in here and everything? She's saying she knew from the entire time that Kyle was in the cabinet. Maybe, maybe not. I have a feeling she didn't know when she first came in. A little bit later, she probably found out, but it probably doesn't matter. Either way, she took it well. She took it as a joke. They all laughed it off. It's a good thing that she didn't reveal any deep, dark secret, because then that could have really been problematic for all involved. Didn't happen, so I don't think there'll be any long-term repercussions. They talk about through the rest of the evening. I think they're okay. But yeah, that kind of, you're sitting there hiding and suddenly someone's out there crying. Then what do you do? I was really wondering how Kyle was going to handle that. All right, we've got Daniel talking to Jasmine. Daniel's been trying to interact a little bit more with everyone, it seems like, as best he can, to just being aware that now he is a target as well. So Daniel's talking to Jasmine. He's saying, look, I want to play in this veto competition. I want to have the chance to ensure my safety. But he's also telling Jasmine, saying, look, I don't want Indy. I don't want Taylor. I don't want Brittany in jury. And I'm guessing that Jasmine probably does not want any of those three in there either. Daniel saying none of them would probably vote for me, which when I first heard it, I thought, well, I'm not sure you want to say that, because if I'm Jasmine, I'm thinking, well, if they're not going to vote for you, maybe they'd vote for me. So I thought about that, but then I realized it's probably not a bad idea, because she probably is a little worried about getting their votes as well. I think they'd vote for her over Daniel, but he tells her that, I think, is a way to kind of talk about who he wants to send out right now, as opposed to anyone else. It's just a subtle way of saying, Jasmine, you're not my target. It's these three I don't want to be in jury. So I think that's what he's doing, is trying to just let Jasmine know that you're cool in my book. We're good to go. All right, we've got Monty and Indy in the HOH room. Monty's saying that he isn't protecting the guys. No, it's just coincidence last week. I'm not protecting the guys at all. I don't have any kind of alliance with the guys whatsoever, Indy. Well, yeah, we know better than that. But he's also telling Indy, he said, look, you're not my target. I think I kind of made that clear during the speech, but you and Alyssa are not my target. Y'all are just up there as the temporary pawns that I want to backdoor Taylor. That's my goal, Indy. Y'all are up here, but I want to backdoor, put Taylor and Nicole up there. Send Taylor out the door. Well, we know they want to put Taylor and Nicole up there, but not to send Taylor out the door. But that's what he's telling Indy. And he's telling Indy as well, saying, look, even if the veto isn't used for some reason, I know you'll be safe. No one wants to send you home, Indy. So just chill this week. You're good. All right, we've got Brittany and Taylor talking. Now, Brittany's a little bit worried. She had a little bit of a meltdown. It just kind of got very quiet and just sat for a while. I hypnotized herself or something. But Brittany's worried because she sees Michael and Joseph now kind of in a power position. They've got Terrence as a protection for them. Brittany doesn't have that. Brittany's talking to Taylor saying, look, I know that Michael and I are probably the most vulnerable right now, because if the other side wins HOH and puts us up, we don't have any side person to protect. It could come down to everyone having to pick between myself and Michael to send home, because we don't have that extra person. So she's mentioning that, which is kind of leads to Michael's desire, what he talked about earlier, about trying to bring Indy in if they had the opportunity to do so. Later, Brittany is suggesting, because here's the thing, Indy doesn't like Brittany. Indy's not going to want to work with Brittany at all. So the idea of getting her on board with this duo, if the opportunity arises, is tough to do. So Michael is suggesting that, or Brittany, I think is actually who it is. Brittany is suggesting to Michael that maybe they need to tell Indy, or he needs to tell Indy, that if Indy joins Brittany and Michael, then Brittany can't send Indy home. She's saying, look, just let her know that maybe I would put up Indy if I was HOH, but if Indy chooses to join our duo, that even if I win HOH, she's safe. I can't do anything about it, and no one else is going to put Indy up. So as long as Indy joins our group, well, then she's safe. There's no problem going forward. So that's the game plan of what they're going to try to do to get Indy on board with them, if she is given the option to join another duo. All right, we've got a little conversation still going on between Brittany and Taylor, complaining about being locked in the house, not having any outdoor time, not realizing from all the episodes they watched that there's actually so little time out in the backyard. I get it. You only get 2 days out of the 7 to be in the backyard. And they're saying, man, you see the episodes, they're outside all the time. We didn't realize all that footage was taken over the span of 24 hours or so. Yeah, they understand. There's a lot of stress in that house once that back door closes and you're trapped inside. The air just gets a little stale. You don't get the sunshine. It just makes everyone a little more stressed out. All right, we've got Kyle and Alyssa in Have Not Room. Lots of non-game talk and lots of discussions about relationships and everything else. Very flirty conversation. Now they're staying away from each other. Kyle's in a chair. Alyssa's laying on one of the floats up there. So we're not seeing a repeat of what happened in the bathroom a night or two ago, where maybe Alyssa got a little touchy with Kyle, and he didn't really seem to reciprocate or necessarily be interested in it. But none of that's going on. But there's still a lot of flirty conversation that's taking place. No game talk, but just a lot of flirting around and everything. Now, Kyle does have an interesting conversation. It's too much detail to go into right now, but go back and watch. It's pretty interesting. Kyle talking about growing up a Mormon in Utah, about wanting to do a mission and he couldn't. He was rejected, and how that affects his life, his family, dating, everything. It's just an interesting insight in someone's background life. So if you get a chance, go back and watch it. I really enjoyed listening to that. All right, we've got Nicole talking to a group, talking about how she's looking forward to her 50s. Well, it's a good decade. Come on in, Nicole. But you think playing Big Brother is hard now? Add another decade or so and then give it a try. It gets a little bit tougher, but yeah, you'll enjoy your 50s. All right. Jasmine and Indy and Brittany are in the Jetsons' bedroom. They're talking about slop, and Jasmine's saying it's difficult because there's only 2 of them on slop right now, and Turner likes completely different slop stuff than she does. He likes protein shakes and all, so she can't even really depend upon him to cook any slop for her. She's been on slop for 24 hours, I guess, and she's already talking about how weak she is, and she's just not sure she's even going to be able to participate in the veto competition if she's selected, because slop just makes you so weak and it's affecting everything about her. Could be a long week for Jasmine being on slop. All right, we've got Monty and Kyle comparing notes. I think they're up in the HOH room. Monty's saying, look, a lot of people are acting like, or I think Monty's saying, a lot of people are starting off conversations with me acting like I'm the one that was behind Amira's move. And I keep saying, if it wasn't me, I didn't want Amira gone. I wanted Taylor gone and all that. But a lot of people acting like that's the case. He's trying to shut it down. Jasmine told Monty that she doesn't feel as good as she used to about Alyssa. So I don't know if it's just everyone on the other side trying to cover their tails a little bit, talking to the person in power, or again, we've seen a lot of finger pointing taking place, people not as trustful of others. We do know that all the girls have been a little suspicious that Alyssa's a little too open with information sometimes. So Jasmine's telling Monty that she just doesn't feel like she can trust Alyssa as much as she used to. All right, we got lots of house guests up in the HOH room, a lot of non-game talk. When you get too many people in there, they can't talk games. So just talking about random stuff here and there. I did hear the mention of a double eviction at one point. It's starting. Every week I thought there was going to be a double eviction. We talked about it every week until eventually it did happen. So I'm sure from this point forward, we're going to hear about it for the next 5, 6, 7 weeks until we get that double. But again, not a lot of game talk at that point. No game talk. All right, we've got Alyssa and Indy in the Jetsons' bedroom. Indy is recounting the talk that she had with Monty earlier, I think right after the nominations, and saying, look, Monty's saying he's going to take us both off the block. We're both good, Alyssa. There's no worries here. And that's true as long as the veto's used. If not, Alyssa's got a little bit to worry about. All right, eventually upstairs in the HOH room, we've got just the leftovers that are left, minus Brittany, I think. And so I think the last person to leave was Alyssa, maybe. And so finally the leftovers can talk a little bit. And they had some interesting conversations. Turner's telling the group that if Indy wins HOH, she's going to put up Taylor and Brittany. And I think it's probably true. He's also saying that the girls are blaming Brittany for everything. Everything they point a finger at, they're accusing Brittany of being behind. So again, Brittany and Taylor still have been the targets for a long time, but a lot of finger pointing at Brittany right now. Kyle saying that Alyssa is no longer talking game to him. He tried that Wells run dry. Well, I wonder why, Kyle. But yeah, he's saying, yeah, Alyssa, we still talk, but she's not talking game anymore. The group is making fun of Nicole and Daniel. They see them as a target right now. Turner's talking about the fact that Nicole came around with ice cream for everyone, little samples of ice cream, and said, "Hey, do y'all want some of Turner's HOH ice cream?" and handed it out to everyone without asking him. Which golden rule of Big Brother: you don't eat stuff out of that HOH basket or fridge without asking permission, or you just risk getting people mad at you. Now, Turner's kind of laughing about it, but I think there's an undertone of him being a little chapped that she took his food without asking. So he mentions the ice cream. He says there was just a little oat milk left, and Taylor took that as well. So he's not happy with her. They're talking about how Nicole and Nicole and Daniel both feel like they're the referees, that they're super strict about rules. In the house, we can't talk about production, and you get called out if you do. But that these two are lots of times are hollering at people about, "Oh, you can't talk about that. You're going to get called out," before Big Brother even has the chance to say anything. So they feel like they're being a little too strict about trying to limit conversations. They're laughing about a potential scenario this week where Daniel and Kyle could win veto. Daniel could pull off Indy and Alyssa in order to put up Nicole and Taylor to send Taylor out the door. And then instead, Nicole goes out the door, and at that point, Daniel's responsible for sending out his ride or die rogue rat because he used a veto. So they're all laughing about that and how kind of funny that would be. We've got Joseph. And I hadn't heard this before. Joseph is telling Taylor that Daniel told him that he's pretty certain that Taylor is an actress who has been hired by Big Brother to come into the house just to stir things up. That she's not an actual house guest. She's just there to create drama and conflict and everything else. She's a plant. Well, Big Brother's never done that before. We've had America's Player and some things like that. They've never paid someone to come in and be an instigator in the house. But Daniel's convinced that's the case, and so Taylor's laughing about it. The whole upstairs is laughing about that. All right. Meanwhile, while this is happening and Taylor's laughing and having fun with all the leftovers upstairs, while that's happening, we've got downstairs Nicole and Daniel and Indy in the Jetsons' bedroom, and Nicole is saying that, look, Taylor went ahead and flipped and voted out Amira just because she is so desperate to please people so badly. And she just thought that was her opportunity. But unfortunately, now Taylor's realizing that it's just made her even more of an outcast. And how horrible is that? Taylor doesn't seem like an outcast as she's hanging out with everyone upstairs. But Nicole is just saying she made a decision because she is so desperate to work with people. And now it's just backfired on her even more. And so now Nicole's saying, we're going to go talk to Taylor tomorrow, which is today, because sympathy and all that. I feel sorry for her. I feel like Taylor's doing okay, Nicole. I think she's doing all right. All right, we got Nicole and Alyssa and Indy talking. Nicole's telling the two girls she knew nothing about last week. She feels it in her gut. Alyssa and Indy aren't going home. They aren't the target. They start talking game using cosmetics, nail polishes, things like that. Nicole is saying that if they win the next HOH, they need to backdoor Brittany or Turner. And the idea is that they want to nominate Monty and Terrence and Joseph as the initial nomination. But then after the veto is used, get out the door Brittany or Turner. They keep Jasmine or Michael safe, but vote out Brittany or Turner. Again, you don't have the votes to do it, but they don't quite realize that even now. There's more guessing about when a double eviction is going to take place and such. So we've got that. Now back upstairs, real quick, we'll finish this up. Back upstairs, the HOH room, Daniel has gone up and joined all the leftovers. So the game talk stops at that point in time, unfortunately. But interesting conversation talking about ghosts and things like that. Daniel joins the group. He's talking all about ghosts and his grandma's doors in the house and represents a portal. He saw a ghost that looked like a little alien sticking its head out, and he was talking about how you have to be forceful with ghosts and all that. Turner says, yeah, I'm full anti-ghost. I'm not putting up with any of them. And kind of a fun, non-serious conversation. Maybe serious for Daniel. He seemed pretty serious about it. But a lot of conversations about ghosts and spirits and everything else. All right, that's pretty much it. Everyone in bed by 2 o'clock or so, Big Brother time, except for Turner. Turner's in the bathroom and then upstairs. And he's talking directly to the camera, but even more talking to the camera, he's talking directly to his girlfriend, Megan, I think's her name, talking directly to her. Very nice romantic talk. I can empathize. I can relate. It just it kind of gave me a little warm feeling in the heart there, watching him being so sincere and romantic, talking across the airwaves to his girlfriend. So he talks about that. And then he transitions from that. He's up in the pool room upstairs and just kind of talking about being in a house, what it's like, trying out, and the fact that he hopes he hadn't risked his $750,000 by standing up doing some of what he's done, but it's worth it if it's maybe help some people with bullying issues that are watching and all that. That's just a very heartfelt conversation, and I love to see it. I'm okay with people talking to the cameras, and Turner spent a lot of time doing it last night, so it's kind of cool to see. All right, guys, that's it. We're going to have the veto competition at some point today. Based on what happens with that, we're going to hear all kinds of conversations overnight about now what's actually going to happen, who's going to be on the block come Monday's veto ceremony. Once we know that, we can pretty much identify, I think, who's going to be going home Thursday. That'd mean everyone in the house is going to know, but we as viewers don't know. So I'm excited for that. Guys, y'all enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I will be back tomorrow morning to give you all the details about what's happened as a result of the veto competition. Until then, cheers, my friends. SKD 143.